News of Dr. Hanover's new experimental procedure causes quite the buzz. Episode 2 of Ratched begins with a number of patients waiting to experience this firsthand. Among those is Peter, who claims to be a daydreamer. Dr. Hanover eventually heads out and greets the patients waiting to be tested. He tells them to get changed and confirms that reporters will be present. Among those reporters are several influential players in powerful positions. With the crowd ONL0 okaying, Dr. Hanover tells them they're going to witness a miracle. A lobotomy to be precise. Unfortunately, it all goes very wrong and prompts one of them, a woman called Annie, to faint on the ground. After this little show, Mildred heads up to visit the only survivor from the night of the murdered priests, Father Andrew. She sits with him and encourages the man to visit Dr. Hanover and explain what he saw. She goads him to convince Edmund to be put to death. He's weak though, and with his voice breaking he doubts whether he can. Instead, she hands over a Bible and takes her leave. Back at Lucy Estate, Mrs. Bucket and Mildred come to blows over the latter's peach. Thankfully they're interrupted by Dr. Hanover, who confirms an alternate procedure in 15 minutes is going to take place. Hopefully this one will go smoother compared to the lobotomy. Mildred's revenge comes swift and quickly, as Mrs. Bucket vomits in the wake of this gruesome procedure in the operating theater. Hanover berates the nurse and tells her to leave. Mildred, meanwhile, sticks around to speak to the doctor afterwards. She seems very interested in this alternate lobotomy. Specifically, she uses this as a tool to try and get in Hanover's good books. As she straightens his tie, she encourages him to allow Edmund Tollison to shower properly. Heading down to see him, she hands over a bar of soap and promises she'll get him out no matter what. Back in the staff room, Mildred meets Gwendolyn Briggs. After some pleasantries, she encourages her to join her down at Monterey. It turns out she believes Mildred is a lesbian and one of them. However, Mildred takes offense and eventually leaves. Thankfully she gets some good news not long after when Father Andrews phones and agrees to meet. In her motel room, she records his words. While he's distracted, Mildred takes the chance to poison his tea. Telling him to rest, she puts him down on the bed and promises to relieve his suffering. Tied down, she confirms that Edmund Tollison is her brother and begins the lobotomy. Back at Lucy Estate, Hanover sits before Edmund, who tells him about something called radio mouth. He exhibits signs of schizophrenia, but Hanover is convinced that he's putting on a show. After giving Edmund an ultimatum, Harold arrives and takes the patient back to his cell. When the state prosecutors arrive to speak to Father Andrews, they find him completely mute and unable to speak.